There's a lot to love about Alabama's win over South Carolina yesterday, but there's also a lot to learn.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by Game Time, and we'll talk about Game Time here in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today, and thanks everybody for making us first listen every single day. You guys, as I've said multiple times, are the best. So, Jimmy, big win yesterday, 29-22. And, 29-22 is one of those scores that if you play if you ever do one of those boards, that has 100 squares and you're like, oh, man, I got 9-2. The 9-2 guy finally gets a win. I can dig that. But I was rewatching a lot of the game, got up early this morning and watched a lot of highlights, watched some of the game that I recorded. A few things stood out. First of all, somebody on Bama 24/7 pointed this out, and got to give them kudos. How about this? The statistics for Alabama, Florida State, and Alabama, South Carolina are eerily right here at Halloween too close for comfort. Alabama, loses at Florida State, of course. They lose by 14. But Ty Simpson's numbers at Florida State, 24-43 for 253 yards and 2 touchdowns with no picks. I'm sorry, that's his numbers for South Carolina. His numbers at Florida State, 23 of 43, 254, 2 touchdowns and no picks. Our leading rusher for Florida State was Kevin Riley, 5 carries for 31 yards. Our leading rusher for Alabama, South Carolina was Jam Miller, 10 rushes for 26 yards. It's weird, but here's the deal. And no, it's not ideal. Those aren't great stats, especially from your Heisman leading candidate quarterback, and even more especially from your running back room. But what it tells me is this team has learned to win a game like that when things aren't going your way or you're not having your A game. So while we can say, oh God, this is a troubling trend, it's true. But it's much better to learn from a win than learn from a loss.
Yeah, and I think while I see the statistical similarities there between FSU and that is alarming a little bit. I think it just shows that what this team is capable of on the low end. As good as they've been, beating 4 ranked teams in a row, there's also this. That wasn't the first time they had played, sort of poorly. But what they did show was some growth in the sense that they made the plays necessary to win the game, which didn't happen in Tallahassee. They did find a way, even early, the Deshaun Jones pick 6. That's how you win a football game. That was a big play in the game. Obviously, Jeremy late with his run and obviously the Lawson strip is the biggest play, in the game. But they made the plays necessary to win the game. We didn't have that in this team in week 1. I don't think we had it in our team last year. I'm convinced last year's team would have lost last night. When they didn't play well, they couldn't find a way to win. This team does. This team did. I think it's just year 2 of the DeBoer culture is more settled. And I'm not saying this is going to be a championship football team. I'm not sure that they are. As a matter of fact, I'd sort of bet against it, to be completely honest. But championship teams do this. They find ways to win when they're not playing well. Because I know it's easy in our minds to think of all the Saban championship teams as some level of perfection. They weren't. There were times they didn't play well, and there were games they had to pull out of their butts. That's what they did last night. Championship teams find ways to win when they don't have their best game. And I think we saw an example of that last night.
2014, Bama went to Arkansas, and I think they won 17-16. If memory serves, it was something like that. Maybe
played terrible.
Won a 1-point game. And if it weren't for Landon Collins' incredible instincts to drop back and pick up the quarterback who had snuck out it was going to be a halfback pass to get that interception, we probably lose that game. So again, and this South Carolina team is better than that Arkansas team, and this Alabama team ain't as good probably as that 2014 Alabama team. So again, what I thought about last night was, and I saw a lot of the comments while we were doing our reaction show, and I said, there were a lot of people going, God, this team just can't figure it out on the road, and we can't do this and we can't do that. And I was thinking, we can't, or at least we shouldn't be upset for winning like this when last year we saw the alternative and we were like, man, just get out of there with a 1-point win. Just get out of, how can you not show up for Oklahoma and just win by 1 or whatever? So it should also be noted this South Carolina team has a first-round quarterback playing and who is a ginormous human being. Nick Harbor is a freak of nature. That catch right after Ryan Williams' big drop, and that was a big drop, and Ryan Williams got to get this figured out. The more I've slept on this and woke up this morning and saw that catch again, the madder I was in the sense that, like, hey man, we are on your side. We love you. This podcast is about you. I mean, and we are for Ryan Williams, but man, you can't keep doing this. We got to figure this out. Whatever this is, it's got to be figured out because they are making plays. That play was designed to go to him. And so what I'm beginning to wonder is maybe that play needs to be designed to go to Lottie or Brooks. Does anyone think Lottie Brooks would have dropped that pass?
Right.
No.
Right. It's something he does have to improve on. I think maybe you could argue he has improved to an extent, and that was different than some of the others that have kind of hit him in stride right in the hands. Yeah. And that was a little slightly more difficult. I think had he not had the prior drops, we wouldn't even notice that. Had he not had, but now everything is magnified because of that. But yeah, he just has to get better. I don't want to trade that though for his playmaking is still great. I think he draws a lot of attention when he's on the field from the DBs and their alignments, which is helpful. I do think he's doing things to help us win the football games. Did last night. I think he caught more balls than any other player. I think he had 7 catches to lead the team in number of receptions, although I think Daniel Hill, ironically, had the most yards receiving. He was impactful. But, yeah, Ryan's just got to get better. This has been a weird year for him. I'm sure he's in his feels over this because, I mean, last year things came so easy to him, and it was such a monster debut. This year's it's been a little rougher.
It was as if on that particular play he lost control of his motor functions for a second and a half. I'm not saying that in a joking manner. I mean, it comes off as a joke, but if you go back and watch it, soon as the ball's coming towards him and they do it in slow motion, you can almost see the confidence leave his body, and the ball hits him, and it's a little awkward. And so. Yeah, I would expect Rico Scott to probably not catch that because I don't think Rico Scott, God bless him, and I thought he played okay yesterday, is not as good as Ryan Williams. I don't think anybody's going to be like, oh, you shouldn't say that. I think everybody would agree. But I expect a guy named Hollywood to make that catch. I mean, is that fair?
No, it is fair. I mean, it is fair. And it's also magnified in the games when it's coming down to one play. I mean, it's coming down to one play as to whether you win or lose. Some of the other drops, maybe they happen and you got a 14-point lead, or it's a game you end up winning sort of handily. It's magnified when, hey, every opportunity has to be seized upon here because things are going really sideways. So got to get better. Offense as a whole has to get better. Last night I thought we did a good job of just positivity, but we said, hey, in the ensuing shows, we'll talk about some of the negativity, and the offense was just pretty bad considering the opponent. South Carolina's pretty good on defense, but not as good as Alabama made them out to look. I thought the offensive line took steps backward. Ty Simpson had his worst game since week 1. I think he allowed Fernando Mendoza, for instance, to take firm hold of the Heisman race. It's fair after last night. Alabama just cannot run the ball, just cannot. And that's so frustrating when the pass game's not working. I think before I hadn't blown it off, but I've sort of minimized it or diminished it because the passing game was so good. I said, we can just keep throwing the ball and we'll score points. Well, some nights that 3-point shooting's not there. Some nights that pass game's not there, and you don't have a run game to rely on. And it felt like a pop gun offense at times too many 3 and outs. At one point, I think ABC flashed a statistic that there was as many 3 and outs last night as there was like in the last 4 games combined. Boy, just a really bad offensive performance. But to give the Ryan Grubb's unit credit, late in the game, they found a spark, and it was enough to win the game. And kudos to them for pulling it out of the ditch. That's a hard thing to do for a college football team. You drive into the ditch. Not everybody's able to drive out of it. They did.
Very few people will know the pain in the bowels of my intestines, which I guess I think that's redundant.
Yikes.
That comes from my having to admit what I'm about to say. I didn't think Mike Shula called a bad game at all. I mean, I'm far from Mike Shula called a wonderful game. I think he called a pretty good game. And the defense, by the way, once again, they give up points on the first drive. But this, again, I think this Alabama team is going to do that. It takes them a minute to sort of figure out what's going on. And what you hope for is that we only give up a field goal now. I mean, when you're playing a pretty good team. But then they get their sea legs, and then they get their footing. And yeah, they gave up a long pass to Nick Harbor. Okay. And then they also gave up another touchdown, but that was set up by a special teams turnover, which we're going to talk about in a second, because I got to ask you a rules question, Jimmy, about the Nick Harbor, Jalen, Mbakwe thing. We're going to do that here in just a second.
You tell them about game time. I'll be right back. You tell them about game time, though. And by the way, I'm using game time to look at a concert later today.
I'm going to tell them about game time. I'm just going to get you off the screen. How about that? College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. There's just nothing like college football. Y'all know this, but let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout, all that crap. That's why I use Game Time, the app that takes the advantage and gives it back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and Jimmy's about to pull up Game Time. He's going to get him a concert ticket for as low as 25 smacks. Unbelievable. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's all one word for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply because they apply to all of life. Again, that promo code is LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today, and they're Jimmy Stein guarantee. Give Jimmy credit for the fastest TT in human history.
I like having the stats in front of me just in case, and for some reason I left the stat about 15 feet away from me.
So we got a question, and actually I have the same question. So on the punt return, hit Jalen Mbakwe on the leg kind of thing. A couple of things. Number one,
told you all year he was going to make a big play.
I cannot tell you how many people chimed in with, Jimmy's been telling us he's going to make an impact.
The funny thing is, as soon as it happened, I had the same negative thought. I don't mean to pick on Bach. That's my fault for hyping it up all year. And by the way, I think he's taking too much blame for that. I mean, I don't know. We're not there. Cole Adams has to take some accountability.
100%.
It's Cole Adams' responsibility to, I don't know what they yell, bingo, grenade, whatever, but just get out of the way. And maybe Cole was. I don't know. I just know that it is the return man's responsibility to keep his guys out of the way of a ball that's on the ground like that. So Bach shouldn't completely responsible for that. But yeah, go on with the question about the block in the back.
First of all, it should be noted that you could see the shame on Jalen Mbakwe's face, which I hate, because you could tell he had the moment where he's like, I finally get in the game and I do this. I mean, it's one of those, if you've ever played sports, you know when you finally get the opportunity, and if you do something screwed up, which other people screw up all the time, and you just don't remember it because you're so used to being the star in high school, and then you get in college and you make a play like that, you are down on yourself immediately. It's really tough. And so hopefully he's got the mental fortitude to come back from this. I still believe in Jalen Mbakwe. But anyway.
I do too. And I'm going to predict, by the way, you ready for this? This might shock you. I'm going to prediction. I think Bach's back at defensive back next year.
You don't want to know the prediction I'm going to make. So I'm not going to say
defensive back somewhere else next year.
Yes.
Okay, it's fair. So, that's fair. In this transfer portal, I mean, I agree that it's reckless for people in our position to speculate as to that. But I do think because he was in the portal last year, that makes this fair, or almost got in the portal last year. I can't remember if he actually got in or not, but he clearly was going to and was recruited back to the team. So since it happened last year, I think it's fair to speculate as to whether that would happen again. And it feels kind of like a lost year for him. But, he chose to move to a really crowded position. It's very tough to get on the field at Alabama.
Jimmy, you know this as a former lawyer, law talking guy. The divorce rate for regular people is like 50%. What's the divorce rate for second time married people?
Oh, much higher. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, if you get in the portal once, there's probably a better chance of you getting in it again because you already know, the hard part is breaking through the barrier of signing up for it. But once you realize, I can do this again. Okay. So,
right. You know the routine. So I don't think it's crazy. But anyway, I do believe until someone that knows it better than me tells me differently, to me, that was a block in the back. I mean,
okay, but that's what I want to ask you. I did. Let me set it up and then you can say that. So Nick Harbor, first of all, I don't like the idea of Jalen Mbakwe blocking Nick Harbor. I mean, it's like, I like Spider-Man, but I don't want him blocking the Hulk. You know what I mean? And he's strong and he's good, but he can't block the Hulk. So Nick Harbor's coming down at full speed. He's probably as fast as or faster than Mbakwe, who's really fast, and he's stronger and he's bigger. So I don't like that. But Mbakwe is clearly being pushed towards our returner. Now, everybody says that's a block in the back, and I'm like, well, how is it a block in the back? Because they are the team trying to tackle us. Yeah. Is that a block in the back?
It's almost like defensive holding.
But is it? I'm asking.
I'm not sure. I just know what it looks like. I have a hard time believing that it's okay to push someone in the back into a live ball. That doesn't seem right in a punt return situation. I'm just saying it doesn't look right to me. Sometimes things don't look right. That doesn't look right to me. Right. But it is very unusual to have the team that's trying to tackle the punt returner called for a block in the back and not the other way around. But player safety. I mean, I don't know about shoving guys in the back regardless. So I'm not sure. It looks like a penalty to me. It's what it looks like. But in terms of whether block in the back is what it would be referred to, I don't really know. I just know it doesn't look right. Didn't look right.
Yeah, I mean, it's what that famous line by a senator who said, "I don't know what porn is, but I know it when I see it." I mean, I'm like you, like I don't know what is fair and unfair, but that doesn't look right. Now,
I knew it didn't look like porn.
Did the South Carolina fans? Okay, so I thought about this last night, and I know we've talked about it before, but man, the Washington guys are coming through. Let me ask this: for all the people who feel like Kalen DeBoer wasn't at Washington long enough for us to see what he actually is, how freaking good would Washington be? They're good right now. I think they only have one loss, I think. And they're good right now. And they would have Jeremy Bernard. They would have Cuevas. They would have Brailsford. And they would have, DeBoer still there with more of his dudes. Man, I'm kind of super impressed more and more by his evaluation because it wasn't like Jerm was a 5-star. Parker Brailsford wasn't a 5-star and Cuevas wasn't a 5-star. They were all, moderately rated, but he's turned them into some dudes.
Let me remind you of a weird quarterback evaluation because I think they've been on a roll at Alabama. I mean, they the Keelan Russell thing, unbelievable. And I think Jet Tamala, for instance, is going to be potentially a really big star. And that might prove to be a great evaluation, and Trent Seaborn and all this. How about this weirdness that we don't talk about enough? Dude's got Michael Penix. Penix leaves. Washington needs a starter. They apparently don't feel that Austin Mack's going to be ready. They don't feel Austin Mack's going to be ready. Too young. So they go to the portal to get do you remember the last portal quarterback they signed at Washington? It's a real head scratcher. Will Rogers. The Mississippi State quarterback.
Yeah.
And it just seems like it's interesting when you're like, okay, that's a fit for them.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seemed like, I think that spoke sort of loudly about what it is that they're looking for. I mean, and I'm not saying that he was substandard. I'm saying strict pocket passer. That kid did not have a lot of athleticism or mobility. Strict pocket passer, but experience, highly experienced. Just interesting that after Penix, the bridge between Penix and Austin Mack to them was Will Rogers, who's so
weird.
Dramatically different than Penix or Mack, really. So yeah, I remember being befuddled by that before I knew Kalen DeBoer was going to be coming to Alabama. I remember going, wow, that's a strange take for them, and strange that Will would relocate from Starkville to Seattle. Boy, talk about
you talk about culture shock.
He shocked himself.
I would much rather go from Seattle to, just because of who I am, I'd rather go from Seattle to Starkville than I would from Starkville to Seattle. Yeah. I don't know which one's more of a shock, but it doesn't matter. But
you had to be shocked walking down Pike Place and getting hit in the face with a fish. Let's go.
Okay. I have noticed, by the way, there will be somebody who points this out. I've misspelled South in the today's show stuff. It is, I say Suta for whatever reason. Number one, I'm a terrible speller. Number two, it is early in the morning and I screwed it up and I'm leaving it because I'd prefer not to edit.
It's on brand for someone from the South to misspell
South. Not to. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about who needs to, some guys who maybe stood out that you don't think about, some guys who need to step up. And we're going to take a look at the SEC race a little bit because speaking of Mississippi State, all-time choke job. FanDuel. FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. When you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Can you believe that? That's nutty. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up today and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Weirdly, this is a Luke Robinson guarantee. Weirdly. All right.
All things basketball should be Luke guaranteed. Can you believe that starting? Alabama plays an exhibition game today, I think, against Furman. I think that's today. And official season starts a week from tomorrow.
Is that Furman too, right? It's in South Carolina.
It's somewhere in South Carolina. I don't know if it's at Furman's campus or what, but yeah, that's strange. But the week starts. I mean, the season starts 1 week from tomorrow. So we got to do some basketball previewing here and there.
We'll have Michael Southern on. And just a spoiler alert, I've got an uncle in New York, and he's my mom's oldest brother, and he's doing okay, but not super. And so, and he's like an uncle that I've always like. He and I grew up playing Scrabble, or I grew up playing Scrabble with him. He taught me a lot of my 2-letter words like XU and JO, which is an Australian rabbit. I mean, I've learned a lot of 2-letter words from him, so I can kick butt at Scrabble. But anyway, I'm flying up to New York and getting him next Tuesday, and I'm taking him back Friday so that he can come to his hometown, see my mom and all these other things. And then I'm just going to, I said, you know what? I'll just stay in New York. I'm going to go to Madison Square Garden and check out Bama St. John's.
So
and then
you are going to go.
I know. Then I'm going to go to the Ainsworth and probably watch Bama LSU, assuming it's still in Alabama bar, which I believe it is. But anyway.
I believe it is.
So, all right. A couple other things I picked up, and you will rewatch the game, I'm sure, today and learn a lot more than I, but I thought Red Morgan had a nice play. We have pointed out, and other really more commenters have pointed out, that Red Morgan has had some bad moments this year. He had a great moment this year. He was able to tackle, I think it was Lenore Sellers by himself when it was a great play fake and knocked him back for a loss. That was good. I thought Nakai Greenhill played okay. He missed a tackle on a 1st and 15 in the second quarter. We did a lot of this. We did a lot of ankle tackling, or tried to. It felt like we were always this close. And he
Seemed
missed
like we had Sellers dead to rights 25 times, and it just never happened.
Kilby Collins had him.
Yes.
And just missed it. But again, kudos to Sellers on this. Not every running.
I'll say this about Red Morgan. If he has critics, I'll say right now, I'm not ready to predict how it's going to work out. I think Red Morgan's going to be difficult to beat out next year to be the starting Husky. Somebody might beat him out. They might move somebody over there. Cam Calhoun, if he's still around. I mean, he could end up being the starting Husky. I like Drake Kirkpatrick at Husky myself. I'm telling you, it might be Red Morgan full time at Husky next year. I think he's playing that well.
Would Devontae Smith be making a difference on this football team? Not that one, the other one that went to Notre Dame.
Sure. Well, he would have been playing Husky. I think that would have been his spot. So Devontae ahead of Deshaun Jones, probably, but I don't think he would be beating out Deshaun by miles and miles. I mean, I would probably favor Devontae to win a battle for the Husky spot between Devontae and Deshaun, but I think Deshaun's pretty good, and obviously he made a big play in the game. It was a little fortunate that the Florida State running back, bobbled the ball like he did almost directly into Deshaun's hands, but still, you've got to make the play that's handed to you. Xavier Brown, who's one of the best cornerbacks in America, he had a great opportunity to intercept a ball, failed to make the play. It was big at the time, and so, hey, Deshaun made the play that was sort of given to him, but you still have to make it, and he did. But yeah, that's an interesting question about Devontae.
Well, Xavier, I think this, again, another great learning opportunity. Xavier didn't have his best game, and this is coming off when he had one of the more impactful plays of the last few years for Alabama. So I think it's a good reminder of, hey, Tennessee's done. Now you got to focus on the next team. And then see now he didn't have a great game against South Carolina. That's done. Focus on LSU. Don't worry about Oklahoma yet. Don't worry about Auburn yet,
And we'll get 2 weeks to talk about LSU, and I'm glad we do, because I think it's going to take a full 2 weeks to get ready for that game. The weirdest team, LSU, for all the fans that are out there that saw them play a terrible second half against A&M last night to fall to 5-3, now out of the playoffs. People talking about Brian Kelly's future. For a team that feels like they're spinning out of control a bit, they got dudes.
Well,
they got dudes.
They might lay it down. They might just. I don't know what LSU is going to do. You're right. They're an enigma. And boy, A&M took them to the woodshed, Alabama in Baton Rouge style. And I finally figured out how to describe Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is what every other ethnicity thinks all white people are like. If you ask any other ethnicity, hey, describe a middle-aged white person, they would sketch artist Brian Kelly, and not only that, they would think that's all of our personalities. I mean,
it's crazy to me about his career. Wildly successful everywhere he had been, even successful at Notre Dame. He did get to the national championship game, and he got to the semifinals another year, won a ton of games. I think he's one of the all-time winningest coaches in Notre Dame history. He was successful everywhere except LSU, which seems to be a place where it's fairly easy to be successful. Les Miles and Ed Ogeron won national titles at LSU, and Brian Kelly is kind of failing there.
But because
it's a head scratcher.
It is in a way, and it's also not, because to really be embraced by LSU, you have to be a little off the wall yourself. Brian Kelly is the opposite of off the wall. Again, when he walks into a room, you can figure out Brian Kelly immediately. He looks gruff. He looks a little like, I'm better than you, and I act that way. And in a way, he is, because he is a gazillionaire, because he's done so well coaching. But at the same time, he's like, Ed Orgeron is a weirdo in a way, please don't beat me up when you see me at the beach, Ed Orgeron, for calling you a weirdo, but I think you're a weirdo. And Les Miles is a weirdo. Les Miles is eating grass, and he came out with those Janet Jackson headphones the first time they ever played. I think it was who did they play that night?
Janet Jackson headphones.
He came. He's like, I thought he was in the Control video. Remember, and he had to take them off immediately. He's like, I can't hear anything in here. Like, no kidding though. You got iPods trying to hear what's going on upstairs in Baton Rouge at night. Good luck, bro.
Think of this weird anomaly. So Ed Orgeron and Les Miles win national championships. When they leave LSU, they can't get other jobs. No one wants them. Brian Kelly goes to LSU, fails. I think he'll only be out of a job for about 24 hours. Someone's going to snap him up.
People will be begging for him.
So strange.
That is so weird. That is so weird. You're right. And anyway, I mean, it's not, you could say, well, Orgeron and Les Miles had some things that followed them that maybe people didn't like. Brian Kelly had an incident at Notre Dame that followed him a little bit, but everybody sort, okay.
You know where he'd be a good fit? A good fit for me is Penn State.
Oh, Brian Kelly would be amazing.
Brian Kelly would be great at Penn State because it's so. He's just Midwestern. I just think it's a great cultural fit, but I don't know that that's going to happen. I'm going to
tell you what, if LSU were smart, they'd let him walk to Penn State, figure out a way to work the bout, and then they'd hire John Summerall, who I think would be a good fit there. But anyway.
I already heard Brian Kelly. I think Pete Nakos put together an article. Brian Kelly's contract requires mitigation, meaning that. So if he's getting paid $10 million a year at Penn State, then LSU's not going to owe him really much.
And I think that's actually, honest to God, feel like that's a very fair way to do it. Now, before we run out of time,
an interesting trade, by the way. James Franklin at LSU and Brian Kelly at Penn State might be better for both of them.
It's one of those situations where what my friend said about two people dating, I think they both could do better. They were dating each other anyway. So got to talk about a few games yesterday. We won't spend a ton of time. We're out of time here, but the Texas Mississippi State thing. First of all, I still this is again a hate review that I don't know if that was a catch or not. If that Texas catch yesterday that was a little controversial was a touchdown, then Curtis Brown also scored in the Iron Bowl in 1995. So my point is, when you take a still shot, you can make it be whatever you want to. There's no way, in my opinion, that you could say you had firm control of that.
Football can't be officiated with snapshots.
With still shots.
It takes video. It takes video to boy, how about a Manning pulling it out in Starkville? They would love to beat a Manning in Starkville and had it.
I didn't think of that.
Couldn't pull that off. And is that going to spark Texas? I mean, Arch's numbers look good. I haven't seen the whole game, but Arch's numbers look good.
They were okay. Jimmy, this is not going to spark them. Let's note this: they beat Oklahoma and they beat Mississippi State essentially on big time punt returns for touchdowns. It wasn't like the offense did it. And I mean, just watching Arch, he had a couple. I mean, he is what Arch is. He has the ability to make a nice throw. The problem is there are 5 crappy throws before you get to that good throw. And Mississippi State just choked. A 17-point lead in the fourth quarter in the SEC with the new clock rules is weird and disgusting and fireable for you not to win. And it should be noted, Mississippi State hadn't won an SEC game since 2023. So if this is your spark game, that's a problem.
Yeah, Mississippi State gets Arkansas next week. They need a win.
2-0 whatever SEC.
They need a win. They need a win. They could end up 0-8 in the SEC again, though clearly better than they were a year ago.
Clearly better. Well, they also beat Arizona State, who also lost last night, but they beat a playoff team from last year. We talked about LSU, and then we didn't really talk about Ole Miss because honestly, that game happened at 11, so it feels like it happened 2 weeks ago.
It's a good football team.
Yeah, Ole Miss is good.
Ole Miss is a good football team. Texas A&M is a good football team. If Alabama keeps on winning, they're going to end up in Atlanta. But let me tell you, playing A&M or Ole Miss will be a chore. Those are good championship level football teams because they're complete. They're pretty good on both sides of the ball. Obviously, Ole Miss on offense, really good. Their defense a little more questionable, but good enough. Good enough.
I'm worried. I'm not worried about it because I'm. It's not like I'm scared of Georgia. But I don't, if we make it to Atlanta, I just don't want to play Georgia again. Not because I'm scared of Georgia, not because I'm worried about Georgia, just because, like, I think it'd be cooler.
We've done that to death.
We have done that a lot. And, I mean, if Alabama doesn't make it, I want it to be A&M and Ole Miss. And my reasoning is because I think that place will be on fire, like literally on fire. The tickets will be through the roof.
One of our first takes last night in our positivity reaction show was how that pulling that South Carolina game out of the fire means you can lose to LSU or Oklahoma or at Auburn and still get into the playoff. Yeah. And that would be, I'm not saying that would be fine, but that's how big that game was, because now my immediate reaction, let's say just hypothetically you lose to Oklahoma, my reaction is going to be, thank goodness Deontay Lawson pulled out that ball from Lenore Sellers in Columbia, because because we're still in the playoff because of that. But I don't know that right now I'm going to predict that Alabama's going to lose to LSU or Oklahoma or at Auburn. I'm equally concerned about all three, because this Alabama team, we've seen them play poorly, so they're capable of losing any of those three games. But I just sort of like the mindset.
Number one, it should be noted we hadn't lost a home game under Kalen DeBoer. Mm-hmm. Number two, I feel a lot better about beating LSU and Oklahoma, even in back-to-back games, after watching both of them play yesterday. Mateer has happened with it. I don't know if it's the SEC defense is catching up. I don't know what it is, but Mateer is not the player he was at the beginning of the year. And they also have by the way, they got to play Tennessee this next weekend, and Tennessee could run them out of the gym the way Aguilar is throwing the ball around.
Tennessee to win, and boy, if Tennessee wins out there in the playoff, or most likely in the playoff, 10-2 with only losses to Alabama and Georgia, and this is their toughest game left, the home game against Oklahoma.
But it could be weird. Now they got it could be. What if Tennessee? See, Tennessee is in the weird position of having to cheer for Vanderbilt, because they might need another good win, because they don't have a good win yet. And if Oklahoma loses to Tennessee and then loses to Alabama, all of a sudden that's a 4-loss team, and everybody's like, well, Oklahoma's not the same Oklahoma since John Mateer's hand injury. And again, I know I'm going down the rabbit hole here, but let's assume Texas A&M wins out, which isn't crazy anymore. That's probably going to happen. I mean, at least better than 50%. Then Alabama, at the very least, loses only one game. They're in. A&M's in. Let's say that Ole Miss doesn't lose again. Again, I think that's almost probable. They're in because they only have one loss. And then you got Georgia, and you're going head-to-head with them for a spot. And Georgia's going to get that spot because they beat you. So now Tennessee at 10-2, they may not get in. That's weird.
That's hard to imagine. I still think there's a lot of losing that's left out there for basically everybody. But boy, I'm going to be, if there's a 10-2 SEC team left out, and someone like, let's say, a second ACC or second Big 12 team gets in, I'm going to be pitching a clot on this show.
Well, what if Georgia Tech wins out, meaning they would have a win over Georgia? Then, and I don't care what they do in the ACC title game, they would get in then. And then Georgia would be that same 10-2, and Georgia would have the head-to-head to Tennessee. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, but I'm saying, and also it should be noted, I'm wish casting because I bet that Tennessee would not make the playoffs this year. So I'm giving you all these scenarios. You're like, why is Luke so concerned with Tennessee? Because I bet on Tennessee to not make the playoffs. That's why. I also bet on Auburn not to play the playoffs.
Shorted Tennessee. You shorted them.
I shorted Tennessee stock. So I'm over here giving you one of those fake orange juice reports from Trading Places. That's what I'm doing. By the way, again, this has nothing to do with anything. I had a friend come over last night we had a bunch of friends come over and eat dinner or whatever. But this friend is a very smart, very wise person. She went to Indian Spring School and did much better than I. And she went to a good college, and she's successful and made $1 gazillion and done well. And she told me last night she's never seen Animal House, and I told her to get out of my house and don't come back until you have. I think that was very fair of me. I think she got off light.
But y'all didn't just immediately watch Animal House?
Well, I couldn't. I was busy getting yelled at from several angles.
I understand.
When I got done with our podcast, I went downstairs, and my wife was very upset that I spent too much time on the podcast. And I was like, "What do you want me to do?" And then weirdly, there was some kids that came over from where I did not know where I was like, what are they doing here? And then I looked out there and one of them was without a shirt for some reason. And it was kind of cold. And I said, hey, where's your shirt? I was going to be fun Uncle Luke chiming in. And then he kind of started crying and everybody was like, he shouldn't have said that. I was like, I haven't been down here to know the context. So can somebody tell me what's wrong? I see a kid in a shirt and socks and Crocs. I mean, without a shirt, in socks and Crocs on my couch outside. And I don't get to ask what's wrong. And so then I had to go talk to him and tell him I didn't mean anything by it. There was a lot of problems.
That was a busy night, boy. And LSU falling apart in the second half
all this was happening while Brian Kelly, who is the stereotypical white middle-aged male, was doing his thing. All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.